just before we start, if you think, if you're new to reenactment and you've not done an awful lot, leave now. Because it's full of wormholes and rabbit holes. You're going to put your head down, like I did with this, and it's never been the same since. So my advice is run away or embrace, whichever you fancy. So basically what we're going to do is a little talk about turn vessels of the Viking Age. Partly aimed at reenactment as well, and also a little show of something that was different going on in Ireland compared largely to what was going on over in mainland Britain and in Scandinavia at the time, or so the archaeology suggests. So largely, turn vessels are split into two categories. One is spindle turned and one is face turned. We've got two modern parlances for them. Spindle turned usually involves cups like this, where the grain orientation runs along the bed, like so. Face turned is usually bowls, but the grain orientation runs 90 degrees to the bed. So that's your two main types. It used to be thought that all cups are spindle turned and all bowls are face turned. Not so. There are a lot of cups from the Viking Age that have no semblance to any of these. And actually, they are small bowls. Drinking bowls is very popular, and I don't think we see enough of this in living history, are drinking bowls. And that's usually bowls that are sub 125 mil. There are quite a few. York, it's about a 50-50 split in the fines between drinking bowls, like that, or spindle turn cups. So it's about a 50-50 split. Hedeby, so far, it's more in favour of drinking bowls than drinking cups. So I think reenactment could do with maybe getting to grips with drinking bowls a little bit more, but we'll touch on that a bit later. Generally, with bowl turning, we'll start with York. We're in York. A lot of the bowl turning in York is functional. There's not a lot, looking at the records, there's not a lot of style in what's going on. It's very functional form. You know, I need a bowl, it needs to do X, Y, and Z, and so it does. So you end up, a lot of bowls like these. This is a bowl turned out of ash wood. This is olive ash. This is from the heart of the ash tree. It has a bacterial infection that causes the wood to turn colour, and it looks like olive wood, hence olive ash. So they're quite a basic sort of form, about 2.5 inches deep, typical eating ware. Some very fine lines that are put onto it, often in pairs and sometimes in pairs of pairs. But that's sort of very typical. Another one, same style of decoration, slightly shallower bowl. Nothing really sort of extraordinary about them. They're just what you'd expect to see somebody eating out of, you know, something nice and straightforward and simple. But turners in various places are copying potters. They are mimicking pottery. In York, they're also mimicking, I think, glassmakers, but we'll come on to that a little bit later. But they're mimicking a lot of pottery. In Hedeby, we see this in the decoration of the woods. There's one from York, which are very similar, look at that. So there's nothing new under the sun. Simple little pronounced rim around here. But that tableware is quite big. That'll be on somebody's table with food to be served out of, not eaten out of. The reenactors do like a large pudding. So it's quite popular with reenactors. They go, oh yeah, I'll get a lot of cake in that. Yes, you will. And you can. More standard sort of size for eating out of. But again, a little nod to the potters with this little decorative rim. It's one of my favourite ones. This is made out of lime wood. It's made out of a burr. So there's a lot of weirdness going on with that, and I'm going to pass this one round because it's just, yeah, a bit weird. But a nice little simple rim that's curved here. Complete nod to potters. The potters will turn a rim over like that. So that's a really good indication that the turners are imitating the pottery. There's another version of it which I'll send out round this way. That one's made out of spalted beech. So there's a nice indication. There's definitely some imitation wear going on there. But that said, there's also simple bowls as well. Simple line decoration again, very easy to do. You see that on a lot of eating bowls and tableware bowls. It's so simple for the turner to do. Doesn't make it high status. You find that on anything. It's very straightforward. Some of them a little bit more complicated. It's subtle, this one. You can't see it so much, but I'll pass it round. But it's actually got facets on it. So instead of having a curve or just a straight approach like that, it actually goes up, up, and up again. There is another one, a bigger version of this, which has got 5 facets, and the facets have all got a little curve in them as well, which are a lovely little thing. And that's definitely mimicking the art of the potter. It does happen over here. Winchester, thanks to Mr. Biddle and his work in Winchester, there's a whole host of wooden vessels that were found in Winchester. This is one of the bowls. I picked this one out in particular because it's very strikingly different to anything else found in Winchester or York. It's a very unusual shape to it. It's got the obligatory couple of incised lines because, you know, turners can do that really easily. But again, you've got this turn up here, which is again a nod to the potters and that ability to turn a rim over on a bowl. So they've copied that and put that lovely little shape in there. This is early 11th century, this one, early to mid 11th century. That one was found in house number 12, I think it is, in the final phase of it. So there's interesting thing with that is nothing before then, but you get 11th century, and we have a Danish king. It's Winchester, and it's very aping of Danish turn vessels from around the similar sort of period that's going round. Connection? Possibly. Are English bowl turners a little bit boring? Yes, they are, they really are. And so clearly there's a little bit of excitement going around elsewhere, particularly when we shift our attention, we've slowly been moving our way westwards, we come to the west coast of England and into Ireland, into, I'll quote Adam Parsons on this, the northwest insular British Isles, I believe is the right expression for it, the Irish Sea region. Now you see something properly full-on crazy going on with the turners. The turners here are running riot with their turning designs. They are mimicking continental type Eware pottery in a big way. They start around 600-700 AD and it just keeps going, but it stays in that region. There are no finds of this outside of Ireland, Iona, Strathclyde, Galway, that area there. You find it all along there, that North Irish Sea region. You don't find it anywhere else. But they are going to town with this stuff. You got ones like this, which as any modern turner will tell you is impossible because they didn't put foot rings on them. That's a modern invention, which is why in the 7th and 8th century in Lagore Crannog, they were building bowls with foot rings on them. So much for the modern turner. Just know everything. Again, the obligatory lines, because lines look pretty. You know, everybody can do them. But you have that lovely turned over rim. This is type E1 wear. From the same family, slightly earlier, this is from Iona, type E1 wear again. And we've got these, a lot of it comes down to the rim. Not so much the little line designs, it's the rims and what's going on with the rims up here. There's a lot of attention being paid to these rims. Another one, again from Lagore. This is 9th and 10th century, so we've come a couple of hundred years now from that one. And we've really gone to town. We've got a little fluting on the rim, we've got lots of line detailing work, little things that were just copying that pottery style. We can go to Lagore, really copying pottery style there. There is, you've got this rolled over rim, which is very similar to the ones you've seen from Hedeby that's going around, but this has another one on it too. There's another one from Lagore that has a single one, just like that, just like the Hedeby one. So they really are just showing that imitation of pottery. It becomes quite a thing. It's infinitely cheaper than pottery. It's local, but they're not trading it. It's not going anywhere outside of that. But it keeps on going. You've got storage jars in wood. We just associate storage jars with being made out of pot or maybe some soapstone. No, they're in Ireland. No, I'll make it out of wood. Beautiful vessels for storing with. And there are lots of lids found. There's been lids found in York, Dublin, Hedeby. So know that there are storage vessels. Some of them get really extravagant. Now this is 9th, 10th century. This is from Seacash. This is County Antrim in Ireland. And this is type E3 ware. So this is like the sort of the final evolution of where they're going with this stuff. And this is just absolutely over the top. There is nothing to compare this to at all on mainland Britain, or as far as I've found so far on the continent, at all. It is completely unique to one area, and that northwest insular British Isles area. This has got beads on it, we've coves on it. This has got absolutely everything. I'm going to pass that around. It is yeah, it'll be all right. It's wood, it bounces relatively well, yeah. And it does hold a fantastic amount of M&Ms, so I'm told. Oh yes, a good old orange, proper orange peel. One of the things I always used to be told in reenactment was they never had platters. Oh, no platters, no plates, no evidence for them at all. No evidence for plates, plattery type things at all. Absolutely none. No. There you go. There's loads. There's 5 from Hedeby, there's 2 or 3 from York, there's 1 from York, which the entire rim is completely carved. It's a bonkers piece of work. It's a stunning piece of tableware. It's absolutely beautiful. And so is this little beauty with all its little steps up the inside. This is from Drumclay, another Crannog site in Ireland. This is 9th, 10th century, so you're right in that Viking period. And they're producing tableware like this. It's just absolutely extraordinarily beautiful. And then the grain adds to it and just adds to so much. It's a visual piece that you can get. But you can make a lot of things out of wood. Cheese moulds are very good out of wood. Drumclay Crannog, yet again. There's more wooden finds in Drumclay Crannog than there is in York. Yeah. And there was 2,000 wooden finds in York. It's more in Drumclay Crannog. Thousands of them. This is a cheese mould. 2 giveaways. One, it's got holes in it. It wouldn't make an awful lot of good for anything other than sieving peas. And it's got a little cross design in it, which I am reliably informed is indicative of cheese moulds. Whether they make religious cheeses or not, I don't know. Or whether that's used for quartering, could be. But there is an identical, but about a quarter scale version of it from Sweden, from Uppsala. Oh, from Lund, sorry. From Lund in Sweden. And it's 200 years later, and it is absolutely identical. Yeah? And it works really well as a cheese mould. Our friends in the VME have been playing with that and have had fantastic results with it. So it actually does work really well with as a cheese mould. But again, these are things we don't see enough of, I think, in reenactment. This is not a plug, come and buy my stuff. This is... she got me. But we don't do it. We have like too much ironwork, which should be pottery. We've got too much pottery when it should be wood. We don't give wooden stuff the attention it deserves. I think it's quite a very missed out. Unless it's a fancy chest or a hoof-wanging boat, we tend to overlook it and go, you know, it's a bit of wood. But it's so much more than that. And, you know, to see these sort of things, this is from York, this is from Coppergate, mid-10th century, nice bit of beautiful tableware. You know, how many LHEs or living history exhibits have people sit on and they've got no tableware like that? You should have it. You should have it. If you're telling the public that this is what the people were using, this is the sort of thing you should be having. Beautiful, proper little formed foot on it, that of course modern Turner will tell you they don't exist. But that's quite an exciting example for York. Winchester, a little bit later, starts doing things, again, the Danes are at it, so it gets a little bit more excited. We've got this rim affair going on here again that's mimicking the pottery. We've got a stepped-in rim, quite shallow, but a beautiful piece that you would have on the table to, you know, you'd have the carved meat would be put into it, or, you know, your chicken dippers, whatever you fancied, going around the table. But these are tableware pieces, so when you're serving food, these would be full and people could help themselves to it. We don't see enough of this sort of stuff, and there's a lot of it, and it's beautiful, beautiful ware. Hedeby was really good. There's 5 or 6 little ones from Hedeby. Again, just a nice simple piece, but like this, we've got this stepped-in rim. Very popular in modern turning, but you see it in Winchester, you see it in Hedeby. This lovely little stepped-in rim, really pronounced foot again. Gives the impression, when it's on the table, that it's floating, because you can't quite see the foot ring. So it gives the impression that it floats. It's a very nice trick of the eye. With simple decoration underneath, why not? Never going to see it, but somebody's going to pick it up and look at it. So a turner will put a decoration on that because you know somebody's going to pick it up and look underneath it. It's just pleasing to the eye. Little things that turners will happily do. More platters that don't exist from the period. Another one from Hedeby. A little bit more substantial. This one's quite a chunky little piece, this. But it is, you know, it is for serving with. So you've got a lot of this going on in Hedeby and in Ireland, where there's this more than a nod going on to the potters of the world, and they're reproducing or making imitations of what the potters were able to do, and doing very good imitations of it. But then we go back to York and we look at drinking vessels, because that's important as re-enactors, isn't it? Drinking vessels. You know, water during the day and obviously water at night as well. Stay hydrated. And I touched on about bowls and cups. Bowls, drinking cups disappear out of the archaeological record. They just fall off the face of the earth. In as much as we see a drinking cup. But drinking bowls are still drinking cups. It's just turned in a different way. So they still exist, but it's a lot of drinking bowls. There are a lot of medieval manuscripts, people drinking out of bowls. We don't see anywhere near enough of it. There's hoards. I think it's 22 drinking vessels found in York so far, and about 50% are bowls. So, you know, maybe we should be looking at that. But in York, the old cup makers, they are kind of going for it a little bit, and they've missed one. I've left one somewhere, and I don't know where it is. It might be in this box. I don't think it is. I'm going to see if the wife wants to pop up and have a rummage. But, it's the one I really want. Yeah, it's that kind of show. But we do have some drinking cups in what you class as the more traditional. She's gone the wrong way. The box is under here. Sorry, dear. You trusted a man. There you go. He'll pay for that. Lovely little cup from Hedeby. Beautiful little cup. Proper spindle turn cup. Lovely line detail on it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Sits in the hand really well. It's a really well thought out turned piece. It's not just chucked on a lathe, I've made something. And, you know, whoever made this thought long and hard about what they were doing. And in the finest traditions of Vikings, and we don't like symmetry, they couldn't be bothered to do the design symmetrical up there. Swear to God, asymmetry is a pain. But it also bears a passing resemblance to this. This isn't the find. This is off a manuscript. There are several English 11th century manuscripts that show them feast. And they're drinking out of cups like this, these little bell-shaped things. It's not a million miles from that. It could be that the person drawing it didn't quite get the shape right. It was described to him and got it slightly wrong. But I thought, yeah, you know what, we're going to make it anyway because it is on a manuscript. And I think that is a relative of that. Personally, I think that's a turning style. But that's a spindle turned. That one's in older. Most of the cups in the Viking Age are older, except for one in Winchester that's made out of burl maple, which is very extravagant and not something you'd actually consciously do because birds are full of holes, so they leak like sieves. But somebody's made a cup out of burr maple, so somebody's thought long and hard about what they're doing with that. They specifically picked a piece of burr maple, like that burr lime that went round earlier. They properly picked that out. That wasn't just a random, oh yeah, that'll do. That's, I want a nice cup. I want the grain to make this cup look really special. So they picked that out on purpose to do that. Alder's very good like that, because it goes orange. When you first cut alder, it looks like somebody's processed about a cubic ton of Wotsits. Sort of cheesy orange colour to it. It's beautiful. One of the most striking little bowls in Winchester, though, is this one. Now, I absolutely love this. This isn't the same wood as the original. The original was alder, which you have. This is made out of beech. This is just gorgeous. The work that's gone into this is fantastic. The way they've done that, they've put this on the lathe, they've turned the outside, they've left it with an overstated rim. They've cut the inside, they've turned this bit away here, and then they've gone at it with carving knives and they've removed all of this on both sides to leave two handles. And then when they've done all that, then they've turned the inside of it and taken all of that out and left this beautiful, beautiful drinking bowl. Yes, it could be a small child's bowl for eating breakfast out of. It could well be. No, I don't believe that for one single minute. It's a drinking bowl. It's for drinking bowl for very proper occasions where you can pass round a drinking bowl. If you're having a communal drink, you can pass this around. Yep. There are 17th century porringers that are exactly the same as this. And you pass that round, you can share a drink out of it. And it's a very nice experience drinking out of a bowl, actually, as opposed to a cup. If you're drinking something particularly nice, it feels quite special. It does.
Quirks are actually English.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I should have put a controversy ruling on the start of this, shouldn't I? Again, another drinking bowl. This is from York. There is an almost identical one to this from the Oseberg ship burial. It's almost identical to this. It's probably slightly nearer in shape to that one there. That one's from Hedderby. But there are 4 cuts from Oseberg. Some ranging. They're all drinking bowls. So they are. So, but I use the term cup because I just class them as a cup because that's their function. Although one had seeds in it, but these are small drinking vessels, and they are genuinely really nice to drink with. Once you get it in your hand and you get into the idea, it actually sits quite comfortably in your hand. You could quite comfortably drink out of it. It's a very easy, relaxed thing to drink out of. I really, really like mine. I think it's just a lovely thing to drink out of. And it holds more than a cup. You can really fill it with mead. Some of them get these beautiful shapes. They really go to town with these S shapes. S shapes are quite popular in drinking bowls. So you've got this S shape that's going on here. You see that quite a lot. You see it a lot in the ones from York. The one I really want to show you, which hopefully the wife will find, otherwise I've left it in the workshop, and that's really embarrassing, is a little bit special because this becomes quite bulbous here, then it goes up straight, and it's got a recess in it. It's about 15 millimetres in height. It's about 3.5, 4 millimetres deep, and it sits near the top. And there are 5 cups from York that have this similar little recess, like that. The one I've made is described by the people from York as having, not found it, God knows where it is, as having a ability to have a metal band placed around it. So if you imagine something like a little silver wristband, your little silver bracelets that you'll see, something like that placed on it, it could be riveted, it could be folded over, clenched into it, could be stamped. They said it's on that one, but there are 4 others with an identical feature. I'd argue that if you could have it on that one and the other 4 are exactly the same, just a different design of cup, then you could have it on all of them. That's my argument for it, because that feature is identical. It's the same size on all of them. It's completely proportionate to the size of the cup. So it could very well be that how do you make a cup really jazzy? Put a metal band around it. Why would they do that? I don't know, they did it at Sutton Hoo. They had the dagged metalwork around the Sutton Hoo cups, and you see that's a lot in Saxon cups, this dagging of metalwork around them. Maybe this is a little tip to their ancestors in the way they made cups, and they put a metal band around it instead. But carrying on that tradition just brought it more up to date. But they also like to colour. They did like to colour. This is one. Now, I adore this. This is my possibly whiskey cup. It takes 2 measures beautifully. It's made out of alder, and unlike the original, this one exists. The original one failed when it was being made. The turner who made it had done all the work, all the axe work, shaped up the piece. He turned the outside of it. He put the little curve in there. He put the little incised line in there. He'd then filled it with iron oxide. On that line there are 4 cups in the UK that have coloration in them. 4. 3 from York, 1 from Stafford. He put all of that in. He did all of that work. The find is in the incompleted section. There's a hoof-wanging chunk missing out of it, where at some point he's probably gone in with his hook tool and got a catch, and it's gone poof, and he's then gone and using a lot of French words and thrown it across his workshop, no doubt, in absolute disgust. I know that feeling really well. Because he's got to hollowing it out, and he started to hollow it out, and it's just blown on him. So it never got finished. So I hope he's happy with that, because that's what it would have. The shape on the outside is right, the inside has just hollowed it. It is really thin. It's 1.5 millimetres thick. Just because you can. I'm not taking it round because I'll never see it again. But that, again, is a lovely... That is a fantastic example of the drinking vessels. They're small. You look at all the drinking vessels we have here. They're not tall, they're not big, not tankards. Shouldn't be drinking out of these things. They're small cups. They drank out of small cups, especially if they were drinking fine drinks. You'd put mead in that. You wouldn't put mead. We would. Fill it, you know, if we'd even bother put it out in the bottle. That's what you drink mead out of. It's a special cup. It's for special occasions. Mead is a special drink for special times. It would be done that way. It might be a very fine imported wine. Some of these cups, like these, it's for sipping. They're not chugging the communal, or they're for sipping out of delicate little drinks like wine and such like. They're not big, chug, chug, chug. No, take the Haig of the Horrible Image and throw it out the door. They just didn't do that. That wasn't what they were about. The cup makers in York, the bowl makers were very perfunctory and boring. The cup makers, on the other hand, were on another level. They were carving cups, they were carving decorations into cups. They were turning the most beautiful things. It really is. The Coppergate deserves its name as the Street of the Cup Makers, because the cup making is absolutely phenomenal. But it would be so nice to see more of this on a living history exhibit. When you look round and you go, oh, look, that's nice, teak salad set, lovely. You know, teak is, you know, come on. At least find a wood that's period right. You know, like mango wood. No, that's not right either, is it? Avoid those things. Make a bit of an effort. Go to any wood turner. Don't come to me. You don't need to. I'm not plugging my business. No. But go to a wood turner. Find a wood turner and go, can you make me that? They'll love the challenge. But have some proper bowls and proper cups. Do the wood turners of the past an honour and actually have some decent stuff. Put it out there and go, this is what our ancestors were making. This isn't just a boring dog bowl. You know, they were making beautiful, beautiful turn vessels the likes of which, you know, just absolutely extraordinary. So, yeah, this is what you should be looking for in Viking Age Northern Europe. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We've got time for just a few questions. There's sort of 8 minutes, so we've got 3. Leah, give her that.
Could you discuss the merits of the small bowl and how we as modern people will fill a large glass and leave it there for a long time, and when we do that now on an LH, that's when things split, and it's not usually.
Yeah, that's when things split. It's when they leave. I've had that with people going, my cup leak, I had a drink in it for an hour. Well, do you know what? Your cup's made out of straws, effectively. When you spindle turn, the grain orientation runs like that, okay? And wood is essentially groups of straws. That's all they are, hollow tubes. Doesn't matter how thick you make that base, and you can put wax on it. I'm sure they probably did. Put a bit of wax on there to stop it leaking, but it doesn't stay there. And what you put in there will eventually get rid of the wax, and it will permeate through and leak. Because we want a cup to... Who wants to have a pint in a cup for an hour? Like, weird concept. I want it in there for an hour. I don't want it in that. I want it in that bit. But yeah, that's part of the reason we struggle with it. We want big cups, we want it to hold. No, they were small cups. They drank small amounts and regularly.
I noticed you cheaper.
Yes. It has, yes.
Was that happened when they did the experimental archaeology?
This is when I turn everything I turn green like they did. They weren't kiln drying woods. At best, they were air drying, so they would maybe fell a tree and come back to it a year later and it will be dried. But, and this is really important to remember, when you're drying wood, depending on where you live will depend on the moisture content of the tree. The wood will eke out its moisture through the ends. So modern wood turners will seal these with wax, and the moisture reduction is then reduced. But if you don't seal the ends, it will eke out. But also, equally, it will wick in. If you live in Cumbria, where I think the general humidity levels in Cumbria are around 56 to 60% humidity, that means that the moisture content of your wood is never going to get below about 27%, maybe 25% on certain types of wood. So it's still really moist. It's not going to happen. If you live in Kent or parts of Suffolk and Norfolk, which are quite dry, you'll get your moisture content down to sub 20%, maybe around 17%. Bear in mind, kiln dried is 9%. So it's not even close. So bowls are going to warp. If you put them in a warm room, they're going to really do horrible things and crack. But they are going to warp, they're going to twist. This was dripping wet when I turned this, and as you've seen from the shape of it, it has done what wood will do. You're along for the ride. It's going to be the shape it wants to be ultimately. Some of them don't warp much, some of them warp a lot, but air dried and green is what they were turning.
I was thinking more of the pressure, basically causing it to actually warp into the shape.
It will, the fibres, the way they're twisted and everything, it will go how it wants to go. Anybody's ever been to Chesterfield and seen the church spire at Chesterfield is a fine example of green wood that's gone and twisted, does what it wants. You are on for the ride with that stuff, which is why it looks like you can now open a big bottle of wine with it. Anybody else? Go on, you were first.
Between a bowl and a cup, does it change the flavour at all?
No.
Have you done the experiment thoroughly?
Oh yeah. I mean, trust me, I can honestly, I will say that I do think though, if you're drinking whiskey or something like that, an oak cup is quite nice. But there's a lovely old whitetail oak affects the flavour of what you're eating or drinking.